Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. This is Understanding Business Compliance in Ghana. And this event is brought to you by Finance Express Limited in partnership with the Ghana Investment Promotion Council, the iSpace, and the African Skills Hub. The aim of this event is to let business understand the regulatory framework and the compliance requirements that they need to comply with, irrespective of your business size or share or ownership type. There are some basic compliance regulatory requirements that each and every business should know to comply by. So it is of this essence that Finance Express Limited is bringing you this event to give you the basic understanding. On the call today is myself, Isaac Oseosu. I'll be your host and moderator for today's event. And we have our speakers, two of my colleagues. The first one, Ms. Fadila Ahmed Abdurazak, who is a business strategist and a remote work consultant. And the second speaker, who is Mr. Rashid Abdul Lamtoui, who is also a tax accounting and compliance expert. So if you are joining us, you are welcome once again, and we hope you learn and take home some things that will help revamp your business. So to begin with, I'll first introduce our speaker, the first speaker for today's event, who is in the person of Ms. Fadila Abdul Razak, who is going to give us understanding of what the Ghana labor law says in relation to business compliance. She's also going to share with us immigration and relocation compliance and GIPC. She's also going to share with us how to build business relations with government stakeholders. So without much ado, I want to introduce our first speaker, Ms. Fadila Abdul Ahmed.
Good morning, Isaac. Thank you very much for the introduction and for hosting this session. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Like I've been rightfully introduced, my name is Fadila, and I'll be taking you through the people side of compliance. Every organization is built by its people, or it is unbuilt by its people. And it is important, or in the relationship that we render or that we steer with our people, there are specific rules and regulations that every company, regardless of its size, needs to comply by. So Isaac, you can kindly begin by moving your slides so that we can start with the Ghana labor laws. With the Ghana labor law in relation to compliance and what is expected of every company to do when it is recruiting or onboarding existing employees. But before that, I will take us through what we render here at Finance Express Limited, as my colleague skipped that. So Finance Express Limited is basically a management consulting firm that specializes in international business development, trade facilitation, and settlement advisory. We work with our clients to help them start up their business in 4 different jurisdictions. We also assist them with tax compliance and other related services that they're required to adhere to on a monthly or on a yearly basis. We also render trade facilitation and other advisory services. Now, let's dive into the topic. What is business compliance? Business compliance is basically a process of making sure that your business and your employees follow the rules and regulations, laws, standards, procedures, and ethical practices that apply to your business in the specific jurisdiction. So it means that business regulatory compliance will change from one jurisdiction to the other, depending on the country that you are. The rules that apply to how you should govern your people, how you should relate with the stakeholders, how you should file your taxes, how you should even handle dispute resolution is going to change. And it's important that companies, new and even old, consult companies or consultants who are already experienced in the market to guide them to ensure that they do not have any issues with the government or fall into any regulatory trap. Now, we're going to move on to highlighting the areas of compliance that we are going to discuss on this call. We will be talking about Ghana business compliance. So the purpose of this call is centered around the compliance law in Ghana in relation to labor, in relation to employment of foreign nationals, in relation to tax filings, in relation to statutory regulations with the Ghana Investment Promotion Council, with the Registrar General Department, and other regulatory bodies, depending on the industry that you're operating in. It's also important to note that this specific presentation that we are going to make today is not targeted at any specific industry. It is a general compliance requirement. So we're not going to be talking about what the banks are supposed to do or what the banks are not supposed to do. We're going to talk about this from a general perspective, the general compliance that cut across each type of business or across industries. So we're going to start with the Ghana labor law. Basically, like I earlier said, a business is grown by people, or you need people to work in your business for your business to be able to grow to a certain standard. And the relationship between the employer and the employee is governed by the Ghana labor law. Basically, there is a government institution called the National Labour Commission, which is an authority responsible for ensuring labor laws in Ghana. And the laws that it covers basically centered around employment security. How do you ensure or guarantee the employment of your existing companies? I have this on my computer, so let me refer to it while my colleague tried to bring it back. So just a moment, please. Thank you for your patience. The second aspect is in relation to compensation. How much are you going to compensate? When are you going to compensate, and all of that? Health and safety requirement or regulations are also going to be discussed here. And then pension contribution. Most companies or most individuals are working so that they can secure the future of themselves and their family. So pension contribution is an important aspect that companies need to know what is their obligation in relation to these areas. So I'm going to move on with the presentation. Now, in relation to employment security, every engagement that you have with an individual to work in your business or for your business for however long or however short it is needs to be captured in writing. Whether you are employing somebody on a full-time basis, on a part-time basis, on an internship basis, a traineeship basis, or it is even a contract with a consultant, you need to have a consulting agreement to that effect. So you need to have a written employment particulars for all the people and stakeholders that you engage with. And in this written agreement, it is important for you to have this because the terms and conditions of the engagement should be clearly stated so that in the case of dispute, there can always be a reference point to go back onto. In this agreement, you also need to ensure or to state the type of contract agreement it is that you're engaging with the person, the probational period, if any, extension of probation or termination of employment terms, the collective agreement in relation to what it is that both of you have agreed for each party to render to one another, the contract of employment, the nature of the notice of requirement. How long do they have to notify you before they quit their job or before you terminate their employment? The severance fee, as well as, please, if you're not speaking, kindly mute yourself so that your background noise doesn't interrupt the call. Thank you. And then the termination of employment. What are the conditions for termination of employment? What is the compensation, if any, and what is the I will call it not dispute resolution, but can an employee challenge their termination of employment, and what does that process look like? It's important to have all of these in writing. Now, compensation is also something that is very important to state in your employment contract or to have as part of your regulatory compliance. You need to state if you're going to compensate the employee when they work overtime, if they are working on night duties, if they are also going to be working on holidays, do you intend to compensate them, and what does that compensation look like? You also need to include the compensation in relation to working during weekends, public holiday works, and also if you're going to provide any form of allowances in relation to commuting expenses, which is basically transport expenses. Now, we will move on to the next slide. Mr. Isaac, kindly work on having the slide back onto the call while I continue the presentation. So the other aspect of labor law, or the other aspect of compliance, is every company has a responsibility to ensure that the workplace in which its employers are working, if it's a physical office, if it's a factory, it is safe and the health conditions are favorable and they are decent. So depending on the type of business that you are in, most companies, or almost all companies, are required to have I will call it a fire exit point and also a fire extinguisher. Also, you need to provide protective gears and equipment for the employers if they are working in a high-risk environment. So for example, if you're working in construction, or if you're working in a factory where you're producing some items and there are machineries, you need to ensure that the protective gears, the hand gloves, the boots, the helmet, and everything is provided for the employee to be able to conduct their duty in a safe manner that will reduce the probability of having an accident. Now, also, you need to provide workplace training. You should not employ an individual without training the person on what he or she needs to get done and on how it is that you expect what needs to get done gets done, and what is the what do you call it? What is the culture of work, or what are they expected to do? Are they expected to send a report? What is it that they're expected to do? You need to communicate this in advance. This can also save you a lot of trouble in terms of measuring performance. Is a person performing up to expectation based on what? Have you communicated what that performance is or what that expectation is? And have you provided the training that the person is needed or the person needs to be able to conduct the work they need to conduct? Also, labor inspection system. So you need to create a system of and communicate that system to your employers on what it is like to check the work that they are doing. If, for example, you are in a production facility or you are producing an item, what is the inspection process? And is there a schedule that has been created for that? If there is none, you need to create that. Health and safety in the workplace obligations also include the decongestion. And then this time of COVID, it is not a regulation, but it is highly recommended that social distancing is allowed. So ventilation, access to ventilation, access to lights, access to toilet facilities, access to the basic health and safety, or not even health and safety, health and well-being facilities are provided, access to water. Simple things like wash hand basins for people to be able to wash their hands, a place for them to be able to eat, a place for their children, if they are bringing children into the workplace, for them to be catered for, depending on the type of business that you are rendering. Now let's move to pension contribution. Per the Ghana law, every full-time employer is not obligated, is entitled to be paid or for their pension to be contributed. So it is important for you to know, or for you as a business owner to know this, so that you can determine who and at what stage of time do you intend to make people a full-time staff. You can employ people on various bases. You can employ them on a contract basis. You can employ them as an external consultant. You can employ them as interns. You can give traineeship opportunities. You can employ them on a part-time basis with allowances, and you can employ them on a full-time basis with allowances or without allowances. And it's important for you to know that when you employ somebody on a full-time basis, in the jurisdiction where you have employed them, you have the obligation to pay a pension. However, it is important to note that the pension contribution, which is governed in Ghana by SSNIT, which is the Social Security and National Insurance Trust Fund, requires contribution from both parties. Both the employer and the employee needs to contribute to the scheme. So the Taiwan in Ghana, for example, is 13.5%, which means you as the business owner, or you as the you as the employer needs to contribute 13.5% of the total pension contribution, which is 18.5% on behalf of the employer. So when you're calculating, or when you're offering employment, you need to also be able to communicate this. Is the compensation you're giving net or gross, so that a person can be well informed as to their tax obligations or other contributions that they are obligated to perform. The Tier 2 is the 5%, which the employee needs to contribute towards their own scheme. So, however, it is your responsibility as a business owner to keep or to withhold both of these contributions and to file the 13.5% to SSNIT on a monthly basis. And then the Type 2, you can choose another insurance company, insurance or assurance company for you to file that. And when my colleague comes to talk about tax, he will explain to you the modalities in which this is supposed to be performed. Let's move on to the next slide, please. Please, at this point in time, if you have any questions, do bring them in so that we can be able to answer them, or drop them in the comment section below. So when we come to the Q&A sessions, we can be able to respond accordingly. Now we're going to move to migration and relocation compliance. This is applicable, or this form of compliance concerns companies that are either foreign-owned companies or local-owned companies, but have foreign employees. When you have an employee that is not a Ghanaian, in this context, you are required to comply with immigration and relocation compliance, or this form of compliance concerns your business. If you do not have any foreign employee, or you are not a foreign employer, then you do not concern with this. So what is the employer's obligation in relation to this? You need to ensure that when you're hiring full-time foreign employees, they have a resident permit at the time of the application. Now, this can be a bone of contention for some companies. So depending on the residency location of the employee when you are employing them, if the person is already in Ghana, they need to have a valid resident permit. If the person is coming from overseas, and your your employment offer should clearly state who is going to bear the cost of relocating the employee from overseas to Ghana or otherwise. This is important, and is important for employees to know and for employers to know, so that they can also ensure that they are all compliant and they avoid any conflict that may result as a result of non-compliance. Now, also, when a foreign employee is relocated to Ghana, depending on the type of employment, the employer also has a responsibility to ensure that they are relocated properly. That means they have an accommodation, they have the work permits, they are accustomed to they get settled. So it is important in your employment offer, or when you are considering to employ somebody from outside the country and you expect the person to relocate to Ghana, to discuss this and to agree on what aspect of the relocation expenses the employer is going to cover and what aspects the employee is expected to cover. This is very essential. Also, when the person comes into the country, you have the responsibility to obtain the employee a work permit. Now, there is no casted in stone rule that states who should bear the cost of the employment work permits. But by default, the employer bears the cost of the work permits. However, this is not enforceable, and I've not been able to verify this information from our colleagues at the Ghana Immigration Authority, as well as the GIPC. So as a rule of thumb, the employer bears or should bear the cost of relocating the employee if the person is already outside of the country and obtaining the necessary permit on behalf of the person. However, you can negotiate with the employee depending on when you employed, how you employ, was the person resident or the person was not resident, how important is the person's role in the business. Also, when you are employing a foreign national, or for you to employ a foreign national, you need to be aware that as a foreign-owned business, if your company is owned by non-Ghanaians, please mute yourself if you are not speaking. Thank you. If the company is not owned by Ghanaians, they also are guided or are also expected to abide by the They are also expected to abide by the GIPC regulation and also to respect the quota that is allocated to them. We will talk about that when we get to the GIPC side. Now, in relation to immigration also, it doesn't mean that you should not employ foreign nationals who are already in the country and are on a resident permit without having a work permit. You can employ people on a non-full-time basis, and then you are not, You're not going to be held responsible for ensuring that they abide by the employment, they acquire a work permit if they are employed on a traineeship basis, on an internship basis, on a part-time basis, or they are consultants and they are external to your company. But as long as the person is a full-time staff of your company, you have the obligation to ensure compliance in relation to obtaining the resident and the work permit. Also, when there is a termination of employment, the employer has the responsibility to prompt Ghana Immigration Service of the termination of the employment of that foreign national, especially if the foreign national is already on a work permit issued by your company. So work permit is typically issued on a one institution to one person basis. So if you are a foreign national, you also need to, for example, if you're a foreign national and you're a freelancer, we do not currently have a freelance, visa or work permit issued in Ghana, but we have a resident permit that is issued to people who are not even employed. You have the obligation to ensure that you do not, I don't know how to describe it, but you do not abuse the immigration policy by working with multiple different firms and not declaring your income at the time of your residency in Ghana. So every resident in Ghana means you are living in the country, but you are also obligated to pay tax or your personal income tax to the country that you are resident in. Now, when we come to the issue of double taxation agreements, that can vary depending on the agreement that your country has or the country of residence has with your other country of residence. If you have more than one residency, I wouldn't want to go into that because that may not be applicable to most of the people that will listen to this. But it is important for you to check what the double taxation agreement is in relation to your employment if you are a resident of multiple different countries. Now, it is also the obligation of the employer, which means the business or the company, to keep information of foreign employees and their work duties in the workplace so that when immigration and other occupational safety and health authorities come, they can be able to access it. So let's assume somebody walks into your office and they say they are immigration. First, you need to get an identification and to confirm that they are indeed coming from the institution that they say they are issuing. And if they say they are coming for inspections, they do have the right to come for inspections and you have the right to cooperate with them, but ensure that you validate that indeed they are coming from that institution. And that will typically be some form of a letter or some form of an ID card to show that they are coming from any of the government institution that they have stated. Now let's move on to the next slide, please. If you have any questions, do let us know. If you also have any expectations as to what you are expecting to be covered that has not yet been covered, do let us know in the comment section so that in case it's not part of our presentation and we're able to respond to that, we will do so. So as a general requirement, when you say you're a business in Ghana, it means you should be registered with the Registrar General Department. So in order for your business to be legalized, you need to have register with the Registrar of Companies. Also, depending on the sector, the type of ownership structure that you have, the type of participation that you have, the type of business that you are running, you may need to acquire additional trade licensing or permits to conduct your business activity. So the very typical example is banks. You cannot go into the business of banking or insurance without having a banking license or insurance company or insurance license from the Bank of Ghana and the Security Exchange Commission. You cannot go into the business of gaming services or providing gaming solutions without registering or acquiring the licensing from the gaming commissions. You cannot go into the business of mining without having the mining license from the mineral commissions and from the other government agencies that regulates the industry. Also, you need to register with the Ghana Revenue Authority, which means every director or employee needs to have a tax identification number in order for them to comply with the tax laws that are applicable to the country. You also need to ensure the property that you are in. If you are having an office, your office should have an office insurance. Depending on the type of business you are running, you may need to acquire different types of insurance for different aspects of your business. If you are into any form of money deposit or collection, you need to register with the, I think, National Depository Insurance something. The banks typically do that so that you can insure, or in the case of theft or in the case of robbery and the cash is affected, the insurance company can replace the cash. depending also on the type of asset that you have, vehicles, equipment, you need to insure them to against accident or any form of unexpected circumstances. You also need to obtain a fire certificate permit, and depending on the jurisdiction you are running your business in, you need to register with the Metropolitan Assembly and pay the metropolitan tax and acquire the business operating permit over there. So I believe this is the end of my presentation. Unless the next slide on GIPC is here, I will let my colleague, Mr. Rashid, come in to talk on the tax-related aspect of compliance, and then I will come back to talk about the GIPC and also share with you some tips on how you can create relationship with government stakeholders for your business and for those institutions that concern you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Fadila, for sharing that with us. That has been very educative and insightful. So yeah, I've penned down some questions for you whilst we were making your submission. So I will check in the chat box if you have any other question. Okay, we don't have any question yet, but if you are now joining us, this is Finance Express Limited, and this event is on understanding business compliance. This event is brought to you by Finance Express Limited in partnership with the Ghana Investment Promotion Council, the iSpace, and the African Skills Hub. The purpose of this webinar is to let businesses understand the basic compliance and regulatory framework that governs doing business in Ghana, irrespective of your structure or your ownership type. So if you are now joining us, you are welcome. So before we move to the next speaker, who is going to help us understand what tax compliance is all about, what are the various types of taxes, and what are some of the transactions, and what are some of the applicable taxes that is in the system. So before the second speaker comes in, I would like to do a brief introduction, and he's the person of Mr. Abdul Rashid Lamte, who is a tax and accountant expert. So Mr. Rashid, please, if you're on the call, you are welcome to this event, and we are happy, and it's a pleasure to have you share with us what tax compliance is all about. Okay, we are having some questions in the chat box. I'll note them down. Mr. Rashid, you are welcome.
Thank you for the introduction. That was a very insightful presentation from Ms. Fadila Abdulrazak Ahmed. You see, compliance is everything when it comes to running a smooth business in Ghana and across the world. Okay, most often businesses and people normally don't look at those areas very well, and at the end of the day, it affects them, right? It affects them through penalties, through other unknown costs to the company and all those stuff, which are avoidable, right? So it is very, very good that you always know the compliance level as a business generally when you are running a business, okay? So not to waste much time, okay, so Madam Fadila touched on business registration in Ghana by registering with Registrar General, other agencies, depending on the industry you find your business in and all that. But irrespective of the registration and all that, just registering the business alone is not enough, because after you register the business as a company, the compliance with business registration, this is where I'm touching. You have 18 months to file your annual return, especially if it is a new business. You register the business fresh, okay? It means that the law permits you, right, for you to do your very first annual return, which is filing of the business transactions that made during the year of review, under the year of review, you have 18 months to be able to do your very first annual returns. Okay, so that's the first time that your annual return is due for you to file. Okay, the reason being that when you register a business, sometimes it's not instantly you start operating. There are a lot of things that you have to go through, those process and others. Just like maybe you find yourself in the banking sector, insurance sector, and all those stuff. After registering your business, now you have to go through the Bank of Ghana and meet all their licensing requirements and all those stuff. They have to come and do due diligence. All these things requires time. So the registrar taught it as much that, okay, it's not every new business that is able to transact the moment their incorporation and certification comes out. Most of them have to go through a certain period. So there's a grace period given to these organizations that, okay, when you register a new business, you have 18 months grace period, then your first annual return is due. When I say annual return, it means that you have to file your financials under the year of review to the Registrar General. Okay, if there are other changes, if there are certain, when you were registering, you said you were going to have 5 employees, maybe now you have 10 employees. So the purpose is to get updated information about your business and also the business transaction so far. Now, businesses that are not new businesses, they, right, 30th of April, you need to file your annual return to the Registrar General. You need to do that by 30th April to avoid any penalty. Okay, the penalty under failing to file your annual returns at the Registrar General is 400 cedis. Okay, so if you miss the 30th April deadline, it means that you are going to pay that extra 400 cedis plus the cost of doing your or submitting your renewal. Okay, so that is first of all that side. Okay, when it comes to business registration, the second aspect has to do with your operating permit. Now, every single business that runs within Ghana, okay, their businesses are located under a municipality, right? These municipal assemblies also part of their IDF or part of their internal revenue generation to help address issues in the community, to make things better for the communities, for the businesses that find themselves in those municipalities. Also take what we call business operating permits from these businesses at where they are located. And this fees varies with regards to the kind of services you find yourself in. Okay, so it is not a cast and stone fees. It depends on the service that you are doing. Normally, when you go there, they will give you the list. You locate under which industry your business is found, and you will see the related fees that you are supposed to pay. This is also renewable every month. So if you are doing your budgeting and all those stuff, these are some of the things you need to take into consideration when you are doing that, right? So after that one is also one side of the compliance, because if you don't do that, sometimes some people will wait for them to bring them invoice before they issue this thing. But if you want to be as compliant as possible and you have a compliance officer in place, or if you don't have, and you have a company like Finage who will help you to ensure that we remind you in doing what you need to do as a business compliantly, you get in touch with us and we take care of that for you. So sometimes you just don't wait for them to bring the invoice. Do follow up, because it is an obligation and responsibility upon you to ensure that you do that. Okay. Now, the third aspect which I have to touch on is when it comes to tax. Okay. No, before I move to tax, okay, Ms. Fadila touched on labor laws and what is obliged by an employer to do on behalf of their employee, which has to do with what? Pension. Apart from the health and safety and all those stuff, this is an obligation that is being done monthly. That has to do with the pension and the welfare of the employee. Okay. So under the SNIT law, the total SNIT is 18.5%. Okay. This 18.5%, the employer contributes 13% of the basic or gross salary of the employee. Okay. Please, if you are not talking, kindly mute your mic. Okay. So the employer contributes 13% of the basic salary, or some people call it gross salary of the employee. Okay. Then the employee also contributes 5.5%. 5.5% of his or her basic salary. Okay. This is supposed to be filed at SNIT every month, as well as a third-party trustee for the employee's contribution. Okay. Now, the employer 13% and the 5.5% of the employee makes up the 18.5%. But it is onto the employer, and it is an obligatory for the employer to file this amount, which is 13.5% to SNIT. Okay. Then the 5% to a third-party trustee that's the business has registered with you. So we have the pen trust, you have the enterprise trustees and all of that, those third-party trustees. So this 5% is being filed to these third-party trustees as far as the business as recognized, or the business as registered with that third-party firm. Okay. So that is an obligation, monthly obligation of the employer. Moving from there, on the same payroll, okay, apart from the SNIT, there is a tax obligation. Okay, there's a tax obligation for the employer to ensure that every month this tax is filed for. Okay. Now, before I dive into that, let's talk about the different types of taxes that as a company, you are supposed to make sure that these taxes are being adhered to and being filed on time, properly, monthly, quarterly, annually, right? So every business is being assessed on 4 types of taxes. Okay, we have the corporate income tax, which normally you call it CIT. Okay, corporate income tax is a tax that you are being you pay on your income less allowable expenses, right? 25% of it. Okay, but it differs based on industry that you find on yourself, but the majority is the 25%. Okay, and this tax is normally you file it, you pay it annually. However, when it comes to Ghana Revenue Authority, this tax you will be assessed at the very beginning of every year. Okay, you'll be assessed. When you are assessed, the company, the tax based on the tax that you would have paid, or the corporate tax that you would have paid previously or previous year. So normally there is an average increment between 25 to 30% of what you have paid in previous years. So you'll be assessed on this company, this CIT, and let's say they will assess you on 10,000 cedis. Now, these 10,000 cedis that you have been assessed, you are supposed to pay this 10,000 quarterly. So you divide the 10,000 by 4, which means every quarter you are supposed to pay 2,500 cedis to the Ghana Revenue Authority. Now, this 10,000 that you are paying is more of an advanced tax until end of year when you have prepared your financial statement, okay, which you are supposed to file your annual return, just like Registrar General, by 30th April, right? You are supposed to ensure that you've gotten your financials audited. You've gotten the audited financials. You file GRA. Financial report, tax, or the true picture, the tax amount that you are supposed to pay. Now, let's assume that you are supposed to pay at the end of the year 20,000 cedis of tax, but you have been assessed on 10,000 already, which you have paid quarterly. So when you are about to pay this 20,000, you subtract these 10,000 cedis that you have paid in advance. Okay, then the difference of 10,000, you pay it to the GRA. Okay, so that is the corporate tax aspect, and every business is being assessed on whether you are a new business, you're a startup, what have you. This CIT, you will be assessed for, and you have to pay quarterly, right? Okay. Now, then there is what we call the personal income tax. Personal income tax is just like the corporate income tax, but this time around, this personal income tax relate to individual, be it the employees, be it the employers, be it the directors of the company that are being paid monthly salary. That's executive directors, right? People who are actively involved in the day-to-day running of the business. Okay, so these are the people who qualify under personal income tax. So this personal income tax normally is being withheld by the employer every single month. That is on your payroll. And we have what we call the threshold schedule based on the amount you are earning, the tier ratios then, where your this thing fall in within, then the tax component will be calculated. But these things, we are not going to teach it, because when we start our training on how to learn how to prepare PAYE, understand the tax purpose and all those stuff, these are some things that some of the people on this call, we will send you email on that, and you'll come for this training, and we will take you through the nitty-gritty of knowing all the tax components, what it entails and all that. So as a business, when you are running and you have this at the back of your mind, it means that you'll be able to avoid a lot of penalties and avoidable taxes that will come to the business. Okay, so personal income tax is in the form of first of all the PAYE, and then we have withholding taxes as well. Okay, so that has to do with the income tax. So PIT, pay as you earn. Now, as a business, okay, as far as you have registered with GRA, okay, or the Ghana Revenue Authority, you are supposed to be assessed on VAT. Okay. Now, whatever services that you operate, that you earn money for the business, you are supposed to charge VAT on it. Okay. So there are different types of VAT. We have the flat rate and we have the standard rate. Okay. Now, based on the type of business you find yourself in. So normally, when it comes to supply of goods, okay, supply of goods, that is goods and all that, okay, 3% flat rate for VAT. Now, recently, they introduced the COVID-19 levy, which is 1%, okay, which has increased the flat rate to 4%. So when you are calculating, the 3% VAT rate is still there, but you have to also, after charging the 3%, you have to also charge 1% COVID-19, which make it a net rate of 4%. Okay, for the flat rate. This is chargeable on supply of goods, right? Supply of goods. Now, then we have the standard rate. The standard rate is 12.5%, but the accumulation of the standard rate currently is about 19.25%. Now, when I say 19.25%, the introduction of Get Fund, which is a levy that is supposed to help with educational sector, development of education in the country. Okay, then we have what we call the NHI levy, which also is another 2.5% of the gross amount. Okay, that one too is supposed to help with the National Health Insurance Scheme that is being run by the government, okay, or the National Insurance Authority in Ghana, okay, National Health Insurance Authority, sorry, okay, so that is also 2.5%. Then the introduction of the 1% COVID-19 levy, okay, under normal circumstance, when you add them, okay, 2.5, 1%, and 12.5%, right, you should be able to get 18.5%, okay, but the effective rate is 19.25% because you charge VAT on the gross amount, including the levies, okay? So when you are charging the 12.5%, you are not charging it on the gross amount, you charge it on the taxable VAT amount, which is the gross amount, including the levies, the 5% levies. Okay, so in essence, the effective rate will be 19.25%. But like I said, when our trainings, individual training courses are being introduced by our company, you'll be contacted and pay small fee, and will help you to understand this thing very well and all that, right? Now, this VAT is supposed to be filed for, right? 30th or end of every month, okay, the subsequent month. So let's say you made sales in January, right? And the VAT component for January is due on 28th February of the following month. Okay, same apply to February. VAT will be due at the end of 30th March, right? So that is how you file your VAT returns. If you don't make any sales and not charge any VAT, you still need to file your nil return at the end of every month. If you don't do that, your account will be charged with a penalty of 500 cedis. And if you don't pay that 500 cedis by day, there's an interest rate using the Bank of Ghana BOG rate there's an interest being accumulated every single day on the 500. So by the time it is very important. It's not only that when you make sales that you file your VAT return. Even when you don't make any sales, you go and file nil return for VAT at the end of the month. Okay, so that's it. Isaac, let's move to the next slide. Then we have what we call VAT withholding. Now, before I go on to VAT withholding, there's what we call the withholding taxes in general. Okay. Now, withholding tax is a form of tax that, as a company, as far as you have registered with the Ghana Revenue Authority, you are an automatic agent. You are an automatic agent of the Ghana Revenue Authority. Means that you are obliged. It's an obligation. It's a responsibility onto you as a company to ensure that you withhold taxes. Now, withholding taxes, there are different types of withholding taxes. So you need to understand all these withholding taxes very, very well. Because if you don't understand, okay, and after you file your annual returns to the Ghana Revenue Authority, you will be audited. When GRA comes to audits, wherever you were supposed to charge withholding tax or withhold a tax and pay on behalf of the vendor and don't do that, these taxes becomes your liability, which is an avoidable liability that you can do. But because of ignorance, because you don't know about it, at the end of the day, you are going to suffer for it. Whilst you know that you have covered all your expenses, this will be extra expenses or extra liabilities that will come onto you. So you really, really need to understand the withholding, because whether you understand, you know it or not, when GRA come to audit you, they will charge it. Okay, they are going to charge it automatic. So you have to understand the withholdings, taxes that is involved when it comes to running of your business. Okay, running of the most general one, which is please, if you are not talking, kindly mute your mic. There's a noise coming in. So sorry. So you need to understand the withholding tax, but the most common one that is applicable to most businesses, right, in the day-to-day running of the business, as far as you have a vendor that supply you goods, you have a vendor that you provide you services, you have a vendor that provide maintenance services for you and all that. These are people you pay them often. I beg you, these people, whatever money is due them, you are supposed to withhold a percentage of the money that you are supposed to pay them, unless they have a withholding exemption certificate that when they are presenting to you their invoice, they attach that exemption letter. Without it, it is an obligation, it is a responsibility upon you to ensure that whatever you pay this person, you withhold. So for services, you withhold 7.5% of whatever gross amount that you are supposed to pay the person, excluding VAT components. Okay, so let's say somebody has invoiced you 5,000, but the gross amount is let's say 4,500. The other 500 is related to VAT. Okay, so you only charge 7.5% on the 4,500 and not the 5,000. This is something you also need to understand so that you apply it rightly. If not, shortchange some people their money. Okay. Then for goods, supply of goods, okay, supply of goods normally is 3% withholding of VAT on it. So supply of goods, if a vendor is supplying you goods, right? Whatever this thing, you withhold 3% of the gross amount and ensure that you pay on the on behalf of this supplier. Okay. Then for laborers, let's say somebody who do come and do a laborer work for you and other maintenance works and all those stuff. These people, you withhold them 5%. Okay, you withhold them 5% on their service charge, not the items that they went to purchase. Maybe whatever maintenance they needed to buy certain products and stuff to be help them to fix whatever they have to fix. Those ones, you don't charge any money, any withholding on it. It is the service charge, the labor work that they are destined that you withhold 5% of that money, and not the entire money, including the cost of purchasing the item to help fix whatever issue it is. Okay, so this is something you need to know. Now, as a business, you rent. Okay, as a business, you rent. Your rent, when the rent is due and you're supposed to pay your landlord, okay, you are supposed to also withhold 15% of the rent amount and pay on behalf of your landlord. But there are some landlords, they will say, no, you have to pay me in full. I'll pay the withholding myself and all those stuff. Please, if you have a difficult landlord like that, please draft a letter. Let the landlord sign that he has agreed to pay the money, the withholding of 15% of the rent amount to GRA, and that when he finish paying, he will present you a copy of the receipt for your keep. It is very important to do that, because if you don't do it, this 15% of the rent amount, when GRA come to do a tax audit, this will become your liability. But if you are able to get a copy of the tax, that the rent tax that the landlord paid for, that one, just the receipt alone is enough to avoid that liability. So always try and sign a letter with your landlord so that tomorrow you can refer. Don't do anything verbal with your landlord, because they are very difficult. They will tell you that no, that's the rent. For the 15%, it is your destiny. You have to pay. If not, I will increase. Or so try to get an understanding, right? It is very, very, very important. The other withholding, there are more withholding taxes, okay? The other withholding that is very, very important to you as well, the PAY, okay? PAY, which is pay as you earn, which is the employee tax. These are taxes on the amounts that allowances, the gross amount, including you withhold tax on it and PAY. Sorry, my network went down, right? Okay, so the next, like I'm saying, the next type of withholding, PAYE, which is an employment tax, as in pay as you earn, is also a form of withholding tax. Okay, that is why I didn't want to go through the tax specific. I started with the withholding because the withholding is a broad tax that you need to understand each and every component of it. So PAYE, which is pay as you earn, is a form of withholding tax on behalf of your employees for all their basic and allowances that you pay the tax on it, okay, based on the amount and the tier that they fall within, okay, to determine the tax that you are supposed to pay on behalf of the employee. And this is due to be paid every month. I'll give you the dates for that. Then, apart from that, if you have directors that you are not paying them salaries, but you are paying them what we call directors' fees, okay, that is also another withholding that you are supposed to withhold at the end of every month. And that one, you withhold 20% of the amount you are paying as a director's fee to the directors. It's very important to note that one as well. It's extremely important to know that. Okay, the withholding taxes I'm mentioning, these are the everyday running business or every month withholdings that you are supposed to listen. However, there are other several ones which what we will do is that I won't dive into it. It will be an educational this thing for us. So if you want to get to know more about all the withholding tax rates and all that, when you visit on our social media pages, we'll be posting them there. Okay, so that you get to know about the rates and all those stuff. And if you want to get more information about how you apply it on based on the industry you find yourself in, is within, and that because there are some of the withholding which are also industry specific, right? So when we post it on our social media, make it a point that you visit our social media every day and get updated informations there and all those stuff. We'll be posting the rates over there. And if you have any information with regards to the type of withholding, the rate, and how to apply it and all those stuff, you can always book a 15 minutes consultancy or clarity call with us, and we'll help you understand that. Then if you want us to help you in doing that and ensuring that your taxes compliance is being adhered to correctly without any future liability or future unknown liability to you, you can always book that 15 minutes and engage our services. Okay, but make sure that you visit Finance Express at Finance Express on Instagram, Facebook. We are on LinkedIn and all those. So we post updates on there, so you always get information over there. So it's very important. After this, you can visit, you can follow our handles across all social medias. Okay, as Finance Express. Okay, so we'll be posting the other withholdings there, but the most important I want you to know is the everyday ones, which has to do with the vendors and consultants and services that you render. The 7.5% for services, for 3% for goods, supply of goods, for 5% for labor works and all those stuff, right? Then your PAYE that is you deduct every month. The director's fee you deduct every month. Your rent, the rent payment that you pay, if you are the one at that type that pay monthly rent, please make sure that you do the withholding of 15%. If you are that type who pay yearly, you make sure that you do the withholding of 15%. It's very, very important to know that. So these are the ones I'm touching base because this one cuts across every industry. But there are other specific withholding which are for specific industries. Like I said, we will post them on our social media so you can get more information over there, okay, when it comes to the withholding. Now, this withholding taxes, right? Then there's the VAT withholding. Now, VAT withholding was introduced June 2018. June 2019. VAT withholding was introduced June 2019. Now, the purpose of VAT withholding, okay, is a control mechanism by the Ghana Revenue Authority, right, to ensure that whatever VAT that is being whatever VAT you are filing, right, you are filing the right VAT. So they introduce some agencies, especially those agencies that do a lot of huge transaction, like the telecoms, government agencies, and what's the name? Banking sector. You understand? If you do any transaction with any bank and all those stuff, they would before they pay you, they would withhold you 7.5%. They will withhold you 7% VAT withholding as well on the VAT component that they are supposed to repay. So they pay on your behalf. This will help the company it will help GRA to track and ensure that where you filing the right VAT that you are supposed to file. So it is a control mechanism. So if you think, okay, people are withholding you VAT, and you go and declare your VAT filing, I tell you, tomorrow there's a liability coming for you. So this is where we also come in as finance that will help you before we call the pre-tax audit when it comes to at the end of the year, and we help you with pre-tax audits and be able to tell you the possible liabilities that this will help you to prepare ahead of time before GRA officers walk in for audits. Okay, so the VAT withholding is a 7% of the VAT component that is supposed to be excluding the levies. The VAT components, they withhold 7% of it, and they pay on your behalf and pay the rest for you to go and file it yourself. Okay. Now, all these withholding taxes that I've talked about, they are due 15th of subsequent months. Okay. So just like I mentioned about VAT, which is due 30th or end of every month of the subsequent month, like if January 1 is due 30th of 28th of February. So the same way when it comes to all the withholding taxes, PAYE and all those stuff that I've mentioned, they are due 15th. So if January withholding taxes, PAYE, director's tax, rent, what have you, taxes is due 15th of February for January withholdings. February withholdings is due 15th of March, right? So that is the cycle, and you have to that you file all these returns at the 15th of that preceding month. It's very, very important that you need to understand this and do it right. Okay. So I've talked about withholding, I've talked about PAYE, I've talked about VAT, right? And I've spoken about CIT, right? So these are the 4 types of taxes as a corporate entity you are being assessed upon. And this, you need to ensure that is being done properly, because you, as a company that is registered with GRA, you are automatically an agent of GRA. So it is a responsibility upon you to ensure that you are compliant to the core and do the right thing and understand the tax. And if not, I tell you, there's always a liability waiting for you in the future when they come and do tax audits. Okay, so that's to do with the tax side of the compliance. So when it comes to business compliance, with regards to be able to avoid all necessary penalties, possible future liabilities, and all those stuff, I've touched on starting from the registrar general. Your compliance level is to ensure that every single year you file your annual return. If you're a new business, registered business, it is due after 18 months from the date of the business operating permit. If you find yourself in different sector, like the telecom industry, like the banking, like the insurance, there are other renewals of license that you have to do apart from these ones that I've mentioned. Okay, so that is that. Then I came to the SNIT, which you need to file for your employees every month with the SNIT and the third party trustee that the company has selected. Then we came to the tax aspect as well, that you should ensure and understand the tax types, agents of the Ghana Revenue Authority. You understand the withholding taxes properly, so that you don't incur because of your ignorance, right? So we at Finance, we have set ourselves out there to help businesses to be much more compliant, to avoid unnecessary tax liabilities and future penalties and all that. We are there to help you structure your business for you. We are there to do pre-tax audit for you. We are there to monitor and ensure that we remind you on your compliant days of filing of your annual returns, monthly returns, quarterly returns. Okay, then advise you properly on certain aspects of saving costs when it comes to business operation in regards to compliance related services. Okay, so Isaac, without much ado, I think I'll end my presentation here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rashid. Thank you. That is very beautiful. That is very good. It has given us more insight into what tax compliance is all about. Before we move on to the next one, that Ms. Fadila is going to share with us, the GIPC quota and how to build business relations with government stakeholders. This is Finance Express Limited, and this is business.
So somebody posted a question.
Yes, we will come back to the question. We have a question and answer session. So we will come back to that. I'm noting all the questions down. You can keep your questions dropping in the comment section and we will get them addressed for you. Thank you. So this is Finance Express Limited.
The person asked in regards to foreign taxes and stuff. So yes. I will address that and go into details with double taxation with regards to foreigners and all those stuff. But as far as you find yourself in Ghana, right, and you are going to stay in Ghana more than within 6 months you are in the country, it means that as a foreigner, you are liable to pay tax, okay? Be it on your income, be it on your property, everything you are supposed to pay. When it comes to property, you pay property tax, okay? Which is your property, annual property distinct. If your property is also for, what's the name? Rental purpose and all those stuff, you are supposed to pay the rent tax on it as well. But whatever tax you pay over here, if you fall within the double taxation countries, the 11 countries that Ghana has signed the double taxation agreement with, automatically this tax, when you are filing your annual tax with whichever country you find yourself in, your origin of country, you take these taxes and add it as part of taxes that you have paid, so that you see that part of the tax rebate or refund that you get from that country, you will see this one will help to increase it for you and all that. Okay, so we'll get there when we get to the Q&A. We can go deep into that side as well. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rashid, for touching down on that. So if you are joining us, you are welcome once again. This is Finance Express Limited, and this is a webinar on understanding the business compliance in Ghana. So we offer business consulting and business consulting. We offer business setup and advisory. We offer tax accounting and compliance. We offer trade facilitation and payments and other value-added services like logistics and delivery, immigration and relocation consulting. You can locate us physically in Ghana at number 7 Sapele Loop, Kokomemle, opposite ATCC, Accra. Or you can also locate us in Nigeria at number 2 Damas Plaza, Umaru, Musa Yaradua Way, Millennium City, Kaduna, Nigeria. You can also reach us on social media on Facebook at Fenage Express Limited and on Instagram at Fenage_Express. We are also on LinkedIn at Fenage Express Limited. You can also DM us on info@fenageexpress.com. We are here to listen to our clients and we are here to offer solutions to whatever challenges that may be bothering you. So we are moving on. So Ms. Fadila, please, can you share with us what the GIPC quota or the immigrant quota is about? And moreover, how businesses can build relationship with these government stakeholders to thrive? Thank you.
Very well. Thank you very much. Abroshid, very good presentation. I also have some questions that I would follow through. But before then, let's talk about the GIPC. The GIPC is the Ghana Investment Promotion Council and is the government institution responsible for coordinating and creating, let's say, an enabling environment and promoting Ghana as a destination for investment. So there's a GIPC Act, which requires all companies with foreign participation or foreign-owned companies or even technology transfer agreement to be registered with the center. So once you are a company and the owners of the company or the majority, or even not necessarily majority, you have foreigners as part of the shareholders, you need to register with the GIPC. And you also need to meet the minimum capital requirement, which we already talked about in previous webinars. So if you're a trading company, you need to have $1 million. If you're a service company, you need to have $500,000. If you have foreign participation, you need to have $200,000. Now, every company that is with foreign participation needs to register with the GIPC when they start business, and they need to fulfill the capital requirement. Subsequently, every 2 years, you need to renew your registration with the GIPC so that they know you are still in business. You are also required as a company to update your registration with the GIPC when the shareholding structure changes. That means maybe you were a fully Ghanaian company and then you introduced foreign nationals as shareholders, or when foreign nationals relinquish their shares to give to locals, or additional directors are added. Secondly, also, if you change the location of your physical office address, you need to update that with the GIPC. If you also change the type of business that you registered to do, so let's say you registered to be a manufacturing company, and then you moved, you came into the market, you started manufacturing a product, but it didn't go on well as planned. So you decided to rather start importing goods from overseas to sell in the local market. It means your registration or type of business needs to change from manufacturing to trading company. You need to update the registration. If you also started as a service firm and you changed to trading, or from a trading firm and you changed to service, or the type of business, maybe you registered to be an insurance company and then you decided to go into microfinance, you need to update your registration with the GIPC for compliance purposes. Also, the GIPC gives quotas, which basically is immigration quotas. That means if you're a registered foreign-owned company or company with foreign participation, it gives you the maximum number of people you are supposed to employ from overseas, which is basically called the immigrant quota. If you exceed the immigrant quota, you need to apply for a short-term work permit for the additional members of the company that you are recruiting from overseas, and also inform the GIPC or make a case for why you are seeking to employ more than the number of stated foreign nationals that is required for your business. One other thing, just a moment, please. One other thing that you're also required to do is when you have a technology transfer agreement, it has to be registered with the center, and then it needs to be renewed based on the duration stated on the certificate. So depending on how long, let's assume, let me take a classic, what is a classic example? Let's assume Toyota Corolla. You want to create, I don't want to call it assembly plant, but you got the license from overseas, from mostly technology-based companies, ICT, software companies, and you are supposed to come and maybe market the product or implement an element of that technology that is already owned by somebody overseas, and then there's a changes in that particular agreement, you need to update the GIPC in relation to that. So these are the main, or these are the few regulatory requirements that these are the few compliance activities or scenarios that will lead to registration, deregistration, or re-registration and update with the GIPC. If you have any questions in relation to how to go about this, or if this is applicable for your business, drop them in the comment section below. Now, creating relationship is one of the most valuable business activity or to-do lists that every business should seek to do. It shouldn't just be with government institutions, but it should be with the stakeholders within your ecosystem of the work that you're doing. Let's assume you are a fintech company. What do you call it? The regulator, of course, is the Bank of Ghana and maybe the Security Exchange Commission or the National Insurance Trust Fund, whatever it is that your solution is. You will also have, what do you call it? Maybe a customer base that is targeted at market women. So you need to, as part of your key business activities, put it as a priority to nurture relationships, not just one-time relationships based on just having a transaction and then that it is, but creating a value system, creating a system of continuously engaging with the stakeholders, giving back, and also taking the opportunities or the benefit that you can from them, and at the same time continue to create value within the value chain. So how do you do this? You need to, I would say, first start by identifying who the stakeholders and the relevant partners or even government institutions that you need, that are relevant to your type of business. So if you are, for example, in consulting practice, you definitely need a relationship with different types of government institutions for licensing. You need to create relationships on it before even the clients come to inquire about maybe setting up a gaming company or setting up this type of company. If you're also in the food and processing, you need to, of course, have a relationship with the Standard Board Authority, maybe the Ministry of Food and Agri. You need to perhaps plug into the United Nations Food Program or something of that nature. So you need to start by creating a list, collate a list, and this list is non-exhaustive. So it doesn't mean because you created a list in January 2021, you shouldn't create another list later on. You can always increase the people, or you can remove, you can add, you can subtract the people that you believe are relevant for your business. So create a list, public sector, private sector, NGOs. Who are the people? Please, if you're not speaking, kindly mute yourself. Who are the people that you want to add value to? Who are the people you can gain value from? Who are the people that you want to learn from? Who are the people that what are the policies or initiatives that you want to add value to, or you want to participate in, or you even want to draw precedents into just being affiliated with that? What are the institutions? What are the schools? What are the chartered institutions? Who are the people? You need to be crystal clear and continue to refine and encourage also your people, not just you, the team leader. You need to encourage your people to help you identify those programs, projects, and initiatives that are relevant to your business. And then you need to create a simple plan. Part of your daily work schedule should be about creating relationships. It's not just about having physical meetings. You can create relationships with people who are outside of your geographical location by connecting with them on social media, by adding value or engaging with their content, by volunteering to speak or host an event, or even just contributing your expertise in terms of sharing an opinion on their initiatives and other stuff. In relation to government stakeholders, it is a slow, however, necessary process for every business to create relationship with some relevant government institutions. You don't always have to create a relationship with all the government institutions. That is the reason why, for example, consulting firms like ours is in existence. We try to create a relationship with most of the government institutions so that we can take off the burden of you having to go and look for, do you know somebody at Food and Drug Authority? Do you know somebody at this? So you don't have to do that by yourself, and you pay for a fee, or you subscribe to a service, and based on that, you can also derive benefits of introductions to relevant stakeholders. But in your own capacity, you also need to identify the key government institutions that are relevant to your business. If you are in the food, I keep talking about food, maybe because I just had breakfast. But if you are, for example, in the food industry, you need to identify who are your key stakeholders in the government institution. What are the programs? What are the projects that are happening that you want to be connected with. And begin by introducing yourself. Sometimes most of the times, you build cold relationships, or you warm up relationships from being cold to becoming warm. So you need to introduce yourself. You need to take away the shame. It's not even shame. Take away the perception that, oh, somebody will not respond to you. Let them not respond to you. Just keep on moving to the next person, and also revisiting the people that you want to engage with that are not yet responded to you. Take the initiative. Give a call, write the letters, put the proposals in place. It's not always pleasant, or it's not always going to be based on how you want it to be done. You will also need to follow the rules and regulations, or the modus operandi of how institutions want to be engaged. And then show up at their events, show up in their initiatives. What do you call it? Sometimes even you can volunteer, or you can ask for an introduction. You can, what do you call it? You can decide to offer your skill for free, or for some discounted price of some sort, just so that you can get to the decision makers. And do not develop the character of being like a pest, whereby you only reach out to the institutions when you need them. Always, when you create relationships with people, even when they haven't brought business to you or they haven't added value to you, create a culture of checking in, maybe every month or every 2 weeks or every 3 months or something of that nature. Find out what people and the institutions care about and contribute to that in the best way that you can. Another thing also is that relationships cannot be forced. Although you can do a lot of things to create relationships with certain institutions or with certain people, but some people just don't want to be connected to. So you need to understand that. And some people also are going through their own mental health issues, or what do you call it, personal issues. And it has nothing to do with you that they are not responding back to you. So give and learn to give people grace, and just learn to be patient in the process, and keep adding value, create content, speak at events, organize your own initiatives, bring people together, be a person that can be of value, and seek for introductions. It's so hard. I think generally, not everybody, but generally a lot of people don't find it easy to make an ask. So psych yourself to don't see an ask as an opportunity that you're exploiting the other person, but an opportunity for a value exchange. And the more that you can do that, the more or the easier that you will see that you're building the relevant relationships that you need to build to grow your business or to catapult your career to the next level. So at this point in time, I think we can start taking on the questions. So I'll transfer it back to my colleague, Isaac. And then I will encourage you all, if you have any questions or require any additional assistance in relation to getting your books together, in relation to getting your business and your house in order, we're here to serve you. We can provide you all the services that we have mentioned. And for services that we don't even render, we can refer you to other service providers whom we know are reliable as we are and will deliver upon the value that they promise to do so. So Isaac, let's have the question and answer session. And
all right. Thank you for sharing that with us. Those are important tips for businesses to build relationship with these government stakeholders to catapult their business to the next level. Okay, I have a question here, and it's relation to tax. This is to you, Mr. Rashid. Someone is asking, this is from Annalisa. And Annalisa, thank you for asking that question. That is a brilliant question. Thank you so much for that. So her question is, when you have a foreign employee, what are the obligations you need to handle in terms of tax? When you have a foreign employee, what are the obligations you need to handle in terms of tax? This is to you, Mr. Rashid.
Okay, while Mr. Rashid is trying to answer, foreign employee is not so much different from a local employee. All the obligations in relation to paying their SNIT, as long as they are full-time employees, in relation to ensuring that they pay their tax, in relation to ensuring that you do their work permit, or their work permit is done by themselves based on agreement you have had with them, and providing them the necessary documentation. So for example, if you want to do a work permit, you need the company registration document, you need an introduction letter, you need an employment letter, and you need a payroll or something of that nature, and a tax certificate. You need to ensure that you provide them this information, and you provide them this on an adequate basis, on a timely basis, not an adequate basis, so that they can file before their permits get expired. and you support them in whatever process. And also you verify the information should immigration contact you to verify whether or not they're employing with you. So in terms of tax obligation, there isn't really, what do you call it? There isn't really so much difference in the type of tax you're going to pay, unless of course it is some form of technology transfer agreement, which I'll let my colleagues speak on that. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Mr. Rashid, let me see if it's still on the call.
Okay, so before Mr. Rashid get to that question, there's another question here also. The person is asking, how are outsourced foreign company in Ghana treated for compliance? Outsourced foreign company in Ghana, how are they treated for compliance?
I'm not sure what you mean by outsourced companies. Are you talking about a technology transfer company? Are you talking about a subsidiary? What exactly is an outsourced company? Then we can be able to address your questions.
Okay, so there was no specification here. So,
can I clarify?
Sure.
Okay, yeah, Anita, can you please give us more clarity to your question? Thank you.
Yes, so when I say an outsourced foreign company, I mean like, you know, nowadays, because we are working on a global sphere, sometimes there's a company that is originally registered, for example, in the United States or maybe in the UK, and then maybe they've moved a department to
Ghana.
Ghana just because of or whatnot, just to reduce their costs. So, but they have kind of, I don't know how to put it, it's like decentralized to some extent and moved a part of the company to Ghana. So, so that's what I actually meant by in terms of outsourcing.
Okay.
So if that clarifies the question.
Okay, that somewhat clarified the question. Now, in relation to that type of company, the question is, have they already registered in Ghana or they still maintain residency in the United States? If they maintain residency in the United States and then their employees, are in or are resident in other countries, then the only thing that may affect them will be the personal income tax, the SNH contribution, and other things which the employees need to push for to get the company registered as an external company in Ghana so that it can file those taxes or it can pay those contributions on their behalf. There is still a global debate on how distributed companies, for example, like Google or Twitter or even Microsoft, are going to handle remote employees. Because with the rise of remote work, you can be a company in Ghana and you hire people in Philippines because the labor is cheaper over there. So what obligations do you have? It's still a gray area in relation to that. So as long as a company is not registered in Ghana, unless it has an external, it is registered in Ghana or has some form of registration with the RGD or with the GIPC, and it establishes itself as an entity here, then it is liable for some local tax as it may be. So it is a gray area, and I think the best person to answer that question would be my colleague. But in relation to remote employees or choosing a department, choosing a department outside of a specific jurisdiction, it is mostly an issue of the employees pushing for their local tax and other things be paid on their behalf, so that either in the local country or in the country of origin. So the always issue is the residency. Where are you considered resident? Because where you're considered resident is where your taxes and social security contributions are typically paid. So it's an arrangement that needs to be pushed by the HR or by the employees so that those contributions can be paid. But in relation to what the law says to that, I am not particularly clear on that, and I'm not the tax expert on this call. Maybe my colleague can answer any specific questions.
Okay. Okay, Annalisa, for me, I want to understand one thing. Okay. Now, when you say the company is an outsourced foreign company, right? It means that they have their residence company where they have registered the company, but they are having employees elsewhere, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, awesome. So with this, as wherever their company is resident or is registered, okay, when they are paying their employees money, okay, it's a cost, right? So they pay the employees PAYE or their tax. They would have deducted the tax and pay in the country where they have registered. Now, it is up to the employee to ensure that they get their pay slip, okay, every month. So they know the tax component that is being withheld. Two, as the employee, when they receive the money is already taxed, right? So they need to also check with the company, where is the company resided? If the company is within a country, within the 11 country where government of Ghana or the GRA has signed a double taxation policy with these countries, okay, therefore it is for the employee also. You know, when I spoke about the PAYE and the withholding and all that, okay, apart from the employer doing its responsibility as an agent of the Ghana Revenue Authority, the employee is supposed to file what we call annual return, okay, which is a form of personal income tax, which you declare the incomes, different incomes portfolio that you receive from employment, from business, from services, from what have you. When you take the form, you see all this thing there. So you put in all those incomes and all those stuff there. Now, when you put it there, you will see some tax advances that you have paid, okay? If this company is resided in a country where it falls within the double taxation this tax becomes an advanced tax that the employee over here has already paid. So he has to capture it as advanced tax. Okay, so you see on the forms, you see tax paid from a double, what's the name? Double tax country.
Yeah.
You understand? So you use all those things to do your assessment for your annual returns. Then it will show whether you are still liable to pay extra tax or you rather have a tax liability with the Ghana Revenue Authority to settle you. But the moment that company registers their company in Ghana, right, as an extension of their business over here, that is where those employees that they are supposed to pay, instead of they paying them from the residence, they pay them directly from Ghana, and they pay the tax component here in Ghana, right? But as far as that company is not registered in Ghana, the only thing is that the employee stands to lose. Okay, that is if the country in which that company is located is not within the double taxation countries, right? It means that whatever income inflow that has come, if he's doing his annual returns, there is a possibility of paying another tax on it. You understand? Exactly. Then the other aspect too is that as far as these employees are not residents of that country, okay, whatever welfare and all those stuff, for SNIT has passed a law whereby if there is a foreigner, you can contribute SNIT for the foreigner. But with the moment the foreigner resigns and leaving to his home country, that foreigner has the right to apply for whatever accumulation of their SNIT fund to be paid back to them. Before they go. So you need to also understand what is the law when it comes to the SNIT welfare and all those stuff over there. Then it means that whatever it is, they are contributing for the employee. So the employee need to understand that, so that whatever is due the employee, if he's leaving the company, he will make sure that he apply for it and take that money. So it is important to ensure that they get their pay slip every single month, so that they know the components that are being deducted. Thank you.
Thank you. A quick one. So in this situation, it is the employee's responsibility to pay their personal income tax in their country of residence, correct?
No, in this case, the employer is paying the tax already for the employee in the country, residence country already. Okay. But where the employee, where the country in which the company is resided doesn't fall within the double taxation, in filing the annual return of that employee, there's a likelihood of him paying extra tax on that income. Okay, but if it's within the double taxation, it means that it will report this tax that has been deducted by the employer and paid at that residence country. Hope it's clear.
And Lisa, I hope that answers your question, please.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you too. Thank you, Mr. Rashid, for that clarity. Yeah, moving on. This question is to you, Ms. Fadila. Now, a company that wants to do advertisements, they want to mount some signboard, they want to do digital signages and billboards. Are there any regulations that governs that? Do they need to
Company
go
needs to be registered in Ghana.
Yes, a company that's registered in Ghana. Or they can mount up those billboards, I mean, on their own.
They are billboards companies. They are companies that already have registered as billboard companies, and you contact them to do the mounting. Those companies are liable to pay, I believe, a tax to the local authority, which is the AMA, for signages. And then also, if you want to put a signboard of your office or advertise your products using your own, what do you call it? Using your own, how do you call it? Advertisement signboard. You need to go to the local authorities for you to get permission. You can't just go and mount a signboard anywhere without permission to do that. But for digital advertising, you can advertise. It's not anybody's space online, it's everybody's space. So there is no regulation per se in relation to digital advertising, just that you have to follow the I don't want to call it advertising rules, but you have to follow the guidelines. So for example, you cannot advertise illegal products, you cannot advertise pornographic materials, you cannot, or you should not advertise child labor related, what do you call it, materials or ventures. So even Facebook and Instagram have their editorial policies or advertisement policies that you need to follow with.
Okay. That brings more clarity, because initially I was thinking that any business can just stand up and go and mount a signboard to advertise their businesses.
No, thank you can't do that.
Okay, thank you for throwing more light on that. Okay, there's another question. Does startup business need to pay VAT, that's value added tax?
As long as your business is registered, you are required to pay tax and collect tax on behalf of the government.
Okay, okay. What tax will a startup need to pay if the business buy raw materials, add value to it, and sells it? What tax will be charged? Someone is asking that. What tax will be charged when they buy raw materials, they add value to it, and they sell it? What type of tax will be charged on that?
Okay. Okay, so when you buy raw material, as in the process to produce products and services and all those stuff, there are different tax regimes that it goes through. From the supply of the raw material, your supplier would have charged you 3% VAT on the goods that you are paying. If you are buying the goods from outside the country and all those stuff, it means that you are going to pay duty tax on it. you are going to, there's a VAT component within that duty tax that you are also going to pay and all those stuff. And when it comes to that side also, there is also a calculation, a cost calculation that you need to do, because that VAT component is a VAT that you can use it as an input VAT to reduce whatever sales VAT you get, right? So that is one side of it. So now when you produce the goods and you have the final goods to sell, okay, normally you would have computed all the cost implications. So you know the cost per product, then you would have added your margin to it to get the selling price. Then when you are selling, you should know that you are supposed to charge VAT to the whoever customer who is coming to buy. Okay, so if it's a goods, so it means that this product will fall under the 4%, flat rate that you have to charge these people. And then if it falls within that 4% flat rate, it means that 4% you are not obliged, or you are not qualified to claim input VAT. But if it is a standard rate, you are qualified to claim input VAT and claim input VAT on normal standard in the flat rate as well. Okay, so it normally has to do with duty taxes. It has to do with VAT related. Then it has to do with maybe corporate tax, which is CIT. You understand? But apart from that, too, the goods that you are buying from the supplier, you should know that whatever you are supposed to pay the supplier, it's an obligation and a responsibility upon you as an agent of Ghana Revenue Authority to withhold 3% of the total gross amount of that amount that you are supposed to pay the supplier. So these are the tax components that fall within that transaction.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rashid, for answering that question. Sorry, we are having a little network issue here. Okay, so moving on, this is to you, Ms. Fadila. Are work permit holders required to register with municipal authorities or the police after their arrival?
No, please.
Especially when they are foreign.
They are not required to register with the police.
Okay.
It is before they acquire the work permit, they are required to bring a police report from their country, not from Ghana.
Not from Ghana, okay.
Only in the case that they've had a criminal record here, then they will need a police clearance to indicate that they have been vindicted from the crime or alleged crime that they were accused of.
Okay, thank you for that. So that means that they are not supposed to report to any municipality.
No, please.
Okay. Are there any rules that governs illegal working in Ghana?
Oh yes, if you are caught, deportation, fines, and also they can terminate or prohibit you from working or coming into the country for a number of years. And then also, if it is an employer, you will be taxed to pay some fines on behalf of the illegal employee that you have employed. Also, it's very important for foreign nationals to understand and to discuss before they accept their offer. If they already have an offer, I've met a lot of foreign nationals who have been working with institutions here in the country and they don't have work permits and they've been working for 3 years, 5 years.
Wow.
The employers have not, they haven't even had that conversation. You should be able to have that conversation. And if you're not, if you're not able to find the terms that work for you, you can look for alternative employment, or as the minister says, you should start your own business.
Okay, thank you for that. I mean, I think that set a tone for more clarity and understanding. But this is to you, Mr. Rashid. Is tax evasion a crime?
It is a crime.
It is a crime.
Tax evasion is a crime. Tax avoidance is not a crime. And tax avoidance is simply using the existing loopholes or provisions within sorry guys, within the tax law to reduce your tax liability to the barest minimum that the law allows you to do so. And a lot of companies do not understand this, so they just end up paying the maximum tax that is available instead of utilizing all the opportunities to minimize their tax liability.
Okay. Okay, so tax evasion is a crime. Okay. Now, I want to ask you this question. Under what circumstances can my business operating permit be revoked? What circumstances?
Involvement in criminal activities, sale or purchase of criminal goods, narcotics, and other forms of illegal activities, human trafficking, what do you call it? Child labor, sale of human parts, and all those kind of illegal activities. And then also, if you violate an established regulation that it governs your line of work, or you do not meet a capital requirement that you were supposed to meet, or you do not acquire the necessary permits that your business is required to meet. So, and this happens to both mostly foreign companies. You need to register with the GIPC. And as long as the GIPC Act remain and has not yet been changed, you need to fulfill your minimum capital requirement and adhere to the immigration laws and other stuff. Thank you.
Thank you too. Now in your submission, you made mention of pension contribution. And I want to ask, as a sole proprietor running my own business, is it still mandatory for me to pay SNIT? Is it mandated by the law to pay SNIT?
Please, it's mandated. If SNIT gets hold of you, and as far as you have an employees, you are supposed to pay for them. And your business, you see, one thing that you guys don't know is that GRA work hand in hand with SNIT. So they share data. So you'll be there and you'll see that SNIT will be knocking your door. And they will come, they will say you have to file your this thing, and you come in and then declare something, but they already have the information. So before you come, they will prepare penalties and stuff for you. If you don't do that, you'll be called to the SNIT court one Saturday, right? You'll be called to SNIT court one Saturday, then you see yourself having challenges. Okay, so please, it is a responsibility and mandatory for you to do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Someone is asking, so please, if you have not registered your business yet, but in operation, would authorities come after you for tax?
Okay, so that's quite an interesting question.
Yeah.
So you see, as far as you have not registered your business, okay, this is where the role of withholding taxes come in. Okay, the reason why the withholding tax was instituted that you should, those people who have not registered their business, that is a way of them avoiding to pay tax, right? So they said that as far as you deal with any business, as an agent of GRA, you are supposed to withhold. If it is service, you withhold 7.5 of the money. If it is what's the name? Supply of goods, 3%. If it is laborer work and staff, 5% of the service charge or the work, the service they perform, right? So the idea is that because you have not registered your business and you deal with a business that is registered with GRA. Now, that person, maybe you have done a business that is, let's say 15,000. Out of the 15,000, right? Let's say the 15,000 is the gross amount, right? You'll be with the company will withhold 7.5%. Okay. Or let me make it easy, 10,000. So we withhold 7.5% of that money, which is 750 cedis. Okay. which is 750 cedis, right? This 750 cedis, this person will go and pay the money on your behalf to GRA. Now, note that this 750 cedis that you have paid, if you have registered your business and registered with GRA, maybe your assessment for the year will not be up to that 750. Now, this 750 that has been paid is an advance tax on your behalf. So if you come and do the thing, proper thing, you can claim this tax back. But if you don't do that property, it means that this 750 cedis, you've lost that money. It becomes this thing, money that you can't retrieve. You understand? So that this is the import for bringing the withholding tax, and that is why when GRA auditors come to you, the withholding, when it comes to withholding tax, they don't joke with it. As far as you have not withheld, they will make sure that they calculate it for you to pay for it. Okay, so yes, if you have not registered a business, yes, it's not this thing, but you are going to be the whatever business you do with a registered business with GRA, they will be shortchanging you a certain money. But if you are doing the right thing and you are being compliant, this money that have been withheld, you can use it to offset a tax assessment that would have been given to you. You understand? But if you are not registered, it means that you lose this money completely. Okay, so it is up to you to decide what you need to do. You understand? Whether you want to register the business and do and comply to the call, or you keep losing money. Especially maybe 750, you won't feel it. But when you do transactions in the hundreds of thousands, in the millions, this is where you feel the money that will be withheld. And no one will tell you that, Masa, go and register and do the right thing and be able to claim that money that has been taken on your behalf. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So the person who asked, it's very necessary that you have your business registered, because the consequences are huge for your business to bear. Now, Mr. Rashid, what is tax stamp?
Okay, while Rashid is answering that question, it's necessary for you to register a business in order for you to do business legally. That's the first part. Secondly, also, as a business owner, you can enjoy a lot of benefits in relation to liabilities that may occur as a result of your business, in relation to opportunities for dealing with bigger clients or with better opportunities. There are a lot of people who, for example, I won't call them business brokers, but people who have been in business, but they don't have their own registered business. And then an opportunity comes and they're not able to utilize the opportunity because their business is not registered. They don't have tax certification. If you are traveling, you're not employed with an institution, and then you say you're having a business, but your business is not registered. What is going to be used as a proof of employment or a proof of income? You don't have that. Also, it depends on your goals. Frankly speaking, there are a lot of people who have businesses that are not registered and they have a lot of money and they're happy. But if your goal is also to maybe create employment or to grow your business across borders, or to do something that is bigger than just making money, then of course you need to register your business. So there are a lot of benefits of registering your business. And of course, also access to people, opportunities, and the ability to tap into a network of people or even get some sort of experience that you wouldn't otherwise have if you're not a business owner. And it's also totally fine not to register your business. However, you'll be denying yourself a lot of opportunities, especially for growth and scaling your business to the next level. So that's basically it.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Ms. Fadila. Now we have a question coming in from Facebook. So if you're not joining us, this is Finance Express Limited. This is Understanding Business Compliance in Ghana. This event is brought to you by us in partnership with Ghana Investment Promotion Council, the African Skills Hub, and the iSpace. Moving on, we have a question from Facebook. Someone's asking, these withholding taxes, do sole proprietors also pay them on behalf of those stakeholders or those that they engage in business with?
They are required.
Yes, they are required as far as it's a business entity and you are making a transaction. It is a responsibility upon you to do that. Okay, and you have registered with Ghana Revenue Authority. The moment you register with Ghana Revenue Authority, you automatically become an agent. It's an imposed position on you to ensure that you do what is needful by withholding on the kind of service that is rendered to you, that you are paying out to a client. Okay, so yes, as a sole proprietor, you still have the right to do that.
All right. So in the absence of any further questions, we would like to thank you.
Isaac, I saw a question from Abdulaziz with regards to tax holiday. Let me see. He said, greetings and thanks for the resourceful webinar. Please, I know some entities enjoy tax exemption, but I also learned any business owner who is below 35 years also enjoy tax exemption. Please kindly verify that for me. Okay, so when it comes to tax exemption, right? Tax exemption, we have in different forms. Okay. Now, before I go to the less than 35 years kind of this thing, business setup and all this stuff. Now, when they say tax exemption, you need to understand the core tax exemption that is being given. Now, the tax exemption under the 35 years has to do with your income tax. You see, I made mention of 4 types of taxes that as a company you are being assessed on: CIT, PAYE, withholding tax, VAT, right? So the CIT aspect, which is the corporate income tax, for sole proprietorship, it is PIT, personal income tax, because as a sole proprietorship businesses, CRA, or they see your business as you, right? So you see that when you look at your business team, it's the same as your personal team, right? Unlike when you look at corporate team, it's different from your personal team, right? So when you are being assessed for CIT, I told you you assess CIT at the beginning of the year, and sometimes instead of letting J assess you, you would know that, okay, you have budgeted to make this sales, and last year this thing, looking at how things are going, you'll be able to say, okay, if you leave it to GRA, they will increase it at an average of 25 to 30% of your previous tax that you paid. But you can assess yourself, take the assessment form, and maybe increase it by 10%. Okay, based on this thing, then you submit it to them. Now, this exemption is on your CIT and not all the other tax, like the VAT, like the withholding and all those stuff, right? Yeah. And the CIT that has been that will be assessed for you. Now, when you are exempted from CIT, because withholding tax on you is similar to CIT, because all the withholding taxes that would have been withheld and paid on your behalf, you are supposed to be issued with a withholding tax certificate, which you can use it to reduce your corporate income tax. So when you are given exemption, the exemption will cover your CIT and possibly a withholding exemption tax. So withholding exemption tax, that is also a distinct that when you are sending an invoice, you can add that letter from GRA to it. And because of that evidence, you will not be withheld on the money that is supposed to be paid to you. Okay. Yes, that's businesses below 35 years is true. That policy is there. That law has been passed, is there. But for you to this thing, to qualify for it, you need to apply for it. Okay, it's not automatic. You need to apply for it and make your case, right? Notwithstanding that, you are also supposed to do certain, what we call a quota. Like if you are applying for withholding tax exemption for withholding tax, there's what you are supposed to do quarterly, certain things you have to meet for it to be renewed for you. It means that you have to be reporting your quarterly sales, okay, based on the people, the sales that has come in, by naming the client, the gross amount, and the possible withholding tax that you would have suffered, okay. Then you have to present all it. So for you to meet, when you apply for it and it's being granted to you, there are certain conditions you have to meet and ensure that you do the reporting to GRA as well, right? If you don't do those things, it means that that exemption can be revoked, right? So yes, it is there, but you need to apply for it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you for sharing that. Ms. Fadila, yeah, so we are wrapping up.
See, there's Benedicta asked a question.
Yes,
Isaac,
yes.
check.
He's asking that when you talk about income tax, how does Uber, Bolt pay for their drivers' income taxes?
Okay.
Yeah,
So this is good. This is beautiful. So for you to understand this thing, right, Benedicta, now Uber is an entity, okay? They are running a business, right? The business they are running is what we call platform as a service, okay? Now, platform as a service, they have put the platform together, right? But for the platform to be efficient, they need the service of other people, right? Now, the people sign up for that service. When the people sign up for that service, now they only take commission of the fare that is being charged. Okay, you charge a fare of 10 cedis. Uber take, let's say 25%, right? Which is 2 cedi 50 pesos, right? The other 7.5 goes to the driver. Okay, so it is the driver responsibility, because that income is coming to the, so it's the driver responsibility to pay the tax component, because Uber is not has not employed the service of the driver. The driver has signed up onto Uber platform as more like a self-employed person. Okay, so Uber would have paid the percentage of the 75% to the driver. The driver's responsibility to pay their own tax. Uber will also bear their own tax on the 2.5% or the 2 cedi 50 pesos that they have taken. That is what they recognize as revenue, and they would pay income tax on that money after deducting all their expenses, allowable expenses and all that, right? So it is not on the part of Uber or Bolt to pay tax on behalf of the drivers. The income that is being generated is for the drivers, and it is their responsibility to file their returns. Hope it makes sense.
Thank you. It does.
Apart from that, if GRA want to be very strict, with Uber, Uber holds a responsibility as a withholding tax agent. So it's just like paying a certain commission. Now, that commission, so that 7.5 cedis that they would have paid out of the 10 cedi, they recognize it as a commission payout. That money, they are supposed to withhold 10% for commissions. For commissions, withholding tax on commissions is 10%. So they are supposed to withhold 10% of that 7.5 and pay on behalf of the of the drivers. Okay, so this money is when they pay, they need to get a certificate and give it to the drivers. So when they are filing their annual returns, they can have tax credits to be able to offset some of the tax liability and pay the difference. Or at the end of the day, when they strike the difference, they will still have a tax credit with the Ghana Revenue Authority. So if the tax auditors come in, they want to be very some way and all those stuff, they will push that agenda of this is a commission payer. It also depends on how Uber is doing accounting for this service. If Uber is recognizing the 10 cities as a revenue generation for the company and pay a commission payout as a direct cost to the service, therefore, the GRA will see it as a commission payout, and therefore they are supposed to withhold 10% of the commission payouts and pay on behalf of these drivers. But if Uber is only recognizing 2.5 cities as the revenue that is coming to them, and they are recognizing these people as their own people who are working for themselves, then therefore that is a different ball game altogether. You understand? So it is the recognition in your financial that will also determine the way they are going to treat the transaction. I hope this makes sense to you.
Yeah. Hello, Benedict. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so she said yes. It has clarified what she needed. So, Mr. Rashid, thank you for that clarity. Okay, so wrapping up. Ms. Fadila, the final words.
Final words, do the
Yeah.
right thing, and the right opportunities will find you.
Okay.
We are here to support you in that process.
Yeah, sure.
Compliance can be a dicey issue, but it doesn't need to be. Whether you want to be trained on how to do it yourself, or you want to employ our service so that we can assist you and you can focus on what you do best, which is rendering your service or producing your product, we're happy to assist you in your compliance journey or building a business that is compliant, legal and legit in Ghana, and leading your people in the proper manner. Thank you so much for being here, and we appreciate your participation. We will share this. This is already live on Facebook. We'll share it on our YouTube page, and we encourage that you share with relevant business owners, managers, and get in touch with us should you require our service. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Fadila and Mr. Rashid, for sharing your time with us and for sharing these resources that are very helpful and beneficial. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. And thank you, audience, too, for joining in from the various walks of life. We appreciate your time being with us. And we are hopeful that this has been insightful and educative, and this will go a long way to help you. So this event was brought to you by Finance Express Limited in partnership with the Ghana Investment Promotion Council Center, the African Skills Hub, and the iSpace. And the event was on understanding business compliance in Ghana. So these are our services. We offer business setup and advisory services. We offer business consulting, tax accounting and compliance, trade facilitation and payment, and other value-added services. If you want to get started, get in touch with us. Listening to our speakers is our priority. So the link on the screen, you can book a free consultation with us to get started and to get to know more about how to be compliant as you run your business legally in Ghana. You can locate us in Ghana at number 7 Sapele Loop, Chewa Memorial House, Kokumimile, Accra, and Nigeria, number 2 Damas Plaza, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua Way, Millennium City, Kaduna. And you can connect and follow us on social media, on Facebook at Finance Express Limited, on Instagram as Finance_Express, and on LinkedIn as Finance Express Limited. You can also send us an email on info@financeexpress.com or partnership@financeexpress.com. and financeexperts@gmail.com. It is an honor and a pleasure to have you two speakers share those resources with us. Thank you, and we look forward to building a sustainable business together. Bye for now.
Thank you and bye.
Thank you very much, Isaac, for having us. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. And thank you for joining us on this call. Have a wonderful week.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Feel free to book your free consultation. Reach us on social media. If you cannot make it up to our office, we are available to render our service to you remotely. So enjoy the rest of the day and let's stay compliant and grow our business together in Ghana.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.